In 1856, Thomas Burberry founded his own fashion brand. The eponymous company is currently headquartered in London, England, but its reach is global, both with branches across the world and a heavy investment in online shopping opportunities. While operating for most of its history in a wholesale model, the company has shifted more towards retail, and at this point, the Burberry Group plc operates in more than 30 countries on 4 continents. The past several years in particular have seen significant growth in Asia, specifically in China and Japan, though the ongoing pandemic has taken its toll on some sectors of sales. The company presses on as they have for nearly 200 years. Now, traditionally, the company is known for its iconic trench coat and patented gabardine fabric, pictured here, as well as the patented Burberry check. Over the years, Burberry has outfitted numerous military service members and pilots, Antarctic explorers, etc. But today they have branched out into every aspect of luxury apparel, handbags, small leather goods, shoes and jewelry, etc. And the company first became publicly listed pretty recently in 2002 via the London Stock Exchange. This decision came as a response to some faltering sales of the 80s and 90s, and a belief by then management that the company's best chance at recovery lay in becoming publicly listed. Consequently, Burberry did flourish. So in the year 2020, it reported a revenue of $3.6 billion converted from GBP, and an operating profit of $261 million. The accessories category is their provides most of their revenue, followed by women's wear, then men's, and then children's. Currently, Burberry employs about 8,000 people on this side of the pandemic, and the majority of these folks work in either production or retail spaces. Burberry partners with a variety of external stakeholders to develop its sustainability program, which they refer to as responsibility, and they phrase this within creating tomorrow's heritage, the strategy, which focuses on 3 distinct pillars of product, company, and communities, as seen here in this diagram. So company relating to internal emissions cutting, things like this. Product relating specifically to some supply chain issues, also production and sourcing of materials. And communities relating to stakeholders throughout either the supply chain or other stakeholders that Burberry sees value in. A lot of these are indeed mapped to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, not necessarily because of the goals, but the company is able to map a lot of these initiatives to the goals after the fact. That being said, the company does also set targets with the assistance of the Science-Based Targets Initiative. So they are cutting their emissions in line to keep the global warming below 1.5 degrees Celsius rise. That is consistent with the Paris Agreement. Now, that being said, Burberry was reporting at a time when Scope 3 emissions were not part of this reporting with the SBT. So the Scope 3 emissions make up about 90% of Burberry's total emissions, whereas Scopes 1 and 2 are just over 10% combined. Burberry also utilizes a number of tools to help report publicly on its sustainability progress. Preeminent among these tools is CDP, which is a not-for-profit that helps companies and governments disclose environmental impact for its potential stakeholders and investors. So the three components that companies can report on are climate change, water security, and forests, and Burberry reports on all three of these. Burberry, as of 2020 at least, scored an A in climate change, two Bs in forests, one relating to cattle products and the other to timber, and an A minus in water security, and was allocated a place on CDP's A list in 2020 for their climate change performance. The graphic seen here comes from S&P Global and the Dow Jones Sustainability Index, the results of which help to benchmark the analyzed companies within their industry based on environmental, governance, social and economic factors, and helps to elucidate the potential for investment to third parties. So the scores arise from responses to questionnaires and data available publicly, and Burberry ranked SAM Gold Class in S&P Global's 2021 Sustainability Yearbook based on the 2020 Corporate Sustainability Assessment. So this indicates that the company falls within the top 1% of its industry. Among some other reporting initiatives, Burberry also produces its independent reports yearly, has progress reports that it publishes through its company. The established 2022 deadlines for Burberry are quickly approaching for its sustainability goals. As the company closes in on this 5-year responsibility plan, we do see progress in the areas of product, company, and communities, but it'll be really hard pressed to fully achieve these targets within the next year. In production, for example, Burberry is aimed to procure 100% of its cotton more sustainably, quote unquote, from the 2017 base year, and as of 2020 has achieved 75% of this target. Much of this has been achieved through the enrollment in the Better Cotton Initiative and the partnership with the Textile Exchange, but the company has acknowledged the need to strengthen its methods of procurement. The company has also established the desire to source 100% of its leather from traceable and certified tanneries, for example, but has achieved only 64% of this as of 2020. An interesting point to make note of here is the community's goal. So here Burberry is committed to positively impact 1 million people by 2022. And to this point, they report through CDP having impacted a little over 400,000. So most of this also happens through the Burberry Foundation. So this includes in particular efforts with groups such as Oxfam in Afghanistan for cashmere sourcing. So the foundation works with farmers and goat herds to improve livelihoods and increase sustainable farming practices, spreading the reach of Burberry throughout its supply chain. And what's interesting here is that a lot of these initiatives happen through the foundation. So a lot of the target reaching is happening not necessarily through Burberry itself, but through its adjacent charity. Likely this comes into play because of Burberry's size and being able to spread its reach a little bit, but it does mean that a lot of these influences and a lot of these targets happen outside of the direct business context. With that said, Burberry does also independently partner with a number of external organizations that help it to achieve its sustainability goals. Some of these relate to company goals, such as the zero discharge of hazardous chemicals, obviously in chemical mitigation, or the NRDC in terms of energy usage and water usage. And these partnerships assist Burberry in realizing its strategies. So the company is impacted through decisions that come about with the assistance of Forum for the Future, for example, both the RE100 and UN climate change memberships to help to ensure a reduction in emissions, and Efforts towards improving communities, as well as those achieved through the Burberry Foundation, are enhanced through the Sustainable Fiber Alliance's work in the Middle East and the ethical trading initiatives focus on supply chain wellness. But what appear to be most important to Burberry are the partnerships that relate to product and affect either the life cycles of products or the sourcing of materials. So the partnership with the Leather Working Group, as mentioned before, indicates that Burberry's commitment is to ethically source leather, material that then in turn leads to a large percentage of sales. So this textile exchange, also with Canopy and a few others listed here, serve similar roles in reinforcing Burberry's strategies for sustainability targets, as well as signaling those commitments to stakeholders. In 2017, Burberry launched a pretty concerted campaign to re-solidify its place in the luxury market. So sustainability messaging was not necessarily a dominant feature of the brand before this, but this most recent strategy also does not integrate this messaging in particularly meaningful ways. That is to say that Burberry does very little in the way of external facing sustainability communication. It is predominantly focused on promoting itself as a luxury and heritage brand, while any corporate social responsibility or sustainability is designated to either web pages or reports for the most part. One of the most recent ways in which Burberry did communicate its sustainability initiatives came in 2018 in response to rather negative PR, as seen in the top portion of this slide here. BBC came out with a report that in the previous year, Burberry had destroyed millions of dollars of unsold product in an effort to maintain its brand valuation. And the report also mentions the use of fur. So Burberry had to come out and say that A, they are no longer burning unsold goods, and B, they were getting away from using real fur. Some of the avenues through which Burberry does pursue outward-facing communication are discrete web pages on its primary customer website, its predominantly shareholder-facing website, and very recently some sustainability messaging on some products themselves. So their transactional website, Burberry.com, houses a subset of web pages referred to as Re-Burberry, through which one is introduced to short blurbs about sustainability initiatives surrounding their three pillars mentioned before. So these represent cursory overviews with invitations then to shop the collections at the end of brief paragraphs. So as in other facets of Burberry's sustainability endeavors, communication appears to be a very recent consideration. The brand identity is rooted in luxury and heritage, so to this point, it would not seem the company has particularly needed to divert from this messaging. So with the exception of impacts experienced from COVID-19, revenues have still risen over the last several years, and Burberry has proceeded to make changes just internally. I would say as the sustainability initiatives mature within the company and as public awareness of needed sustainability shifts continue to grow, Burberry may find it necessary to engage customers more frequently to maintain its base and then to involve other more socially and ecologically minded demographics. For now, however, the lack of communication does not necessarily appear to be detrimental to company progress. Despite this lack of meaningful outbound communication, it does appear that Burberry's sustainability strategy has made an impact on the company's operations. Adopting the partnership with Progetto Quid and Elvis and Crest, for example, has begun to pave the path towards circularity within the product's life cycles through donation of excess and unusable materials. Establishing a desire to reduce the amount of waste has also directly resulted in some facilities in the UK and Italy sending zero waste to landfills in the past couple of years, and incorporating recycled materials and redesigning less wasteful shopping bags also indicate a commitment to change within production processes. In the company's 2019 and 20 annual report, we also find that the governance body is beginning to consider the business risks associated with climate change. So this past year saw the formation of a sustainability steering group, which has been designated the task of implementing change according to recommendations from the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures. So these recommendations incorporate 6 areas of risk, both physical and transitional, that the steering group works towards mitigating in conjunction with other internal risk management teams. So the company has been able to link these risks to their strategy and developed plans accordingly. So what that report indicates is that Burberry is in fact making attempts to integrate sustainability into its operations and is using appropriate third-party tools to do so. This attention given to this endeavor has been fairly recent, but the company does recognize the need nonetheless. It is also through the CDP reporting that Burberry identifies opportunities associated with the changing climate and adapting their strategy. So one example here is the opportunity associated with reduced operational costs that stem from investing in more efficient buildings. Other opportunities that were identified were the substitution of materials due to demand shifts and climate necessity, fur, again, offering an example here, and increased utilization of recycled products. 2 of these 3 opportunities even go so far as to have concrete costs associated with them. So, in sum, the Burberry Group has taken significant and beneficial action in the past few years towards a sustainability strategy. The targets that they have set have been contextually appropriate, and though not all of them are likely to be completed within the projected time frame, definitive progress has been made in comparison to the baseline year, 2017. So I think Burberry's long history of creativity sets the company up for success in approaching new methods of production and new material use, and its dedication to collaboration allows for generating a maximum value within its partnerships. As the company continues to develop its responsibility plan, there should also be a focus on communication with a wider range of stakeholders. So it's evident that Burberry itself has committed to science-based change, but that story can be further activated within and without its customer base, ensuring that there is a viable future through which Burberry can continue this elongated legacy.